Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and two quick things I want to mention before we get deeper into the video. The first thing is that I didn't actually get a girlfriend. That was just an April Fool's joke on Twitter. And then the second thing is hopefully you've been enjoying the more funnier videos, like with the Hanzo funny moments, the Hanzo roast. It just seems like you guys really like the funny moments series, so I've been trying to do a lot more comedy videos rather than just commentaries, but not entirely ditching the commentary scene, because in today's video it's going to be a classic commentary, and I want to talk about heroes that needed to get a nerf. If you remember last week, I made a video talking about heroes that needed to get a buff, and I said I wanted to do the polar opposite. Well, here we go. We're basically doing the polar opposite. Now, whenever it comes to picking heroes that I decide need a nerf or need a buff, I typically look for the bottom of the barrel heroes or the top tier heroes that are way too meta, but are also pushing other heroes out of possibly being viable picks. Like you see with Brigitte. Brigitte has been notorious for pushing Genji and Tracer out of the meta because they're both flank heroes trying to focus on the secondary healers, but Brigitte not only survives the flank that they bring, but also destroys them in the process. So those are the type of things that I'm really looking to not necessarily become obsolete, but just tone down to the point where a Tracer and Genji could be viable, but Brigitte can have her spots still, just not have numerous spots. But another thing I'm also trying to avoid is making a hero bad based on a nerf, because if you remember Doomfist's nerf before it, he was at the top of his game, he was the best DPS hero in the game, and then afterwards, he was at bottom of the barrel and you were a throw player if you would pick him. So with all these nerf and buff videos, what I'm trying to do is bring up a bunch of heroes so they're at least viable picks, but also bring down the heroes at the top very oh so slightly so they're not necessities, because all three of these heroes, or at least two of these heroes, are definite necessities in the game right now that we don't need. And the first hero I'm looking to nerf, which so many people want out of the game completely, is going to be our favorite redheaded waifu named Brigitte. And yes, she is a redhead. Now, I'm not trying to be that kid with a 2 IQ going to the Brigitte voice actor's Twitter page complaining, saying, "Oh, why is Brigitte in the game? It's your fault. You're the reason why Overwatch is broken with Brigitte." But what I am trying to say is that Brigitte is very powerful, which isn't a bad thing, but what I am saying is the problem is that she does her job a little bit too well, because like I just said at the beginning of the video, she's supposed to be a secondary healer that's supposed to give off a little bit DPS and protect her team and give off burst heals, but she does that a little bit too well to the point where she's able to push a bunch of flank heroes out of the meta. Heroes like Tracer, Genji, Doomfist, and if you consider him a flank hero, Hammond, aren't necessarily viable picks, all because you have to consider Brigitte and the fact that she's able to stop them with what, kids? Her shield bash. So the nerf idea that I have for Brigitte that won't make her unmeta, but that'll just open the doors for other flank heroes to be viable picks, is gonna be getting rid of shield bash altogether. Now, hear me out. That might be a big nerf, but just listen to me, Brigitte mains. When you look at secondary healers, you look at Zenyatta, Lucio, and Brigitte. Now, especially with Zenyatta, there is literally no protection. When you think about Lucio, yeah, you have the wall ride ability, and if you're skilled enough, that's a lot of protection. But when you think of Brigitte, you have two forms of protection. The shield itself, so that you can turn around from the flanking heroes and protect yourself with the barrier, but you also have the shield bash to protect yourself and do a lot of damage, some Phil Swift stuff. That is way too much stuff going on with Brigitte for a secondary healer. Whereas if you got rid of shield bash altogether, it's not like Brigitte's gonna be bad. She's really not going to be an awful hero, because she's still going to have the great burst heals. She's going to have that same DPS heal ability going on too. She just has to look out for viable picks like the Doomfists, like the Genjis, like the Tracers. That's ultimately what I want with this nerf, is not to make Brigitte bad, but just to have these DPS heroes considered, because every single time you pick them and there's a Brigitte on the other team, either A, you're going to get flamed because, well, you're not playing goats, or B, you're not going to be able to get your job done because you're not able to focus on not only the healers or the secondary healer, but anybody because of the bash. And if you're going to use the argument, well, McCree has his flash ability, he's always at his flash and able to stop these heroes. Yeah, but McCree doesn't have a shield to protect him. Brigitte has two forms of protection. McCree has one if he's skilled enough to use the flash and fan the hammer, which I mean, it isn't all that hard, but that's... But want to know the next hero that I think needs a nerf, and some people will consider it's a rework, but I definitely think it's going to be a nerf, is Baptiste. Now, yes, he is new. Yes, why do I already want to bring down the brand new hero, the flavor of the month, down from the top tier hero picks? And it's all because he makes ultimates, which is the most fun part about Overwatch, obsolete. He makes them irrelevant because every single time you use a grab, you use a Mei ult, you use a Genji strike, you use a Reinhardt Earthshout. Nope! Immortality Field, baby boy. Now, the Immortality Field itself isn't something I have a problem with. Now, if you ask me, well, do you want it in the game? I would probably say no because it's so powerful, but it's so powerful especially since it's an ability. It's an ability with a cooldown. You don't have to wait for the charge. You don't have to be skilled to be able to. You just have to wait for the cooldown to ensure that nobody will die. Now, yes, it can't get destroyed. It has 250 health. It has more health than a squishy hero in Overwatch. So I have two nerf ideas related to the Immortality Field. The first option is kind of like the naive option because it's basically just making it worse, which I don't really want to do. But the first idea is to lower the health of the Immortality Field to like 150 or heck, even 200. Like the fact that's bruh, we don't need that kind of negativity in our lives because you guys might be thinking, oh, well, you just have to shoot it. Yes, but in the relative time that you would want to destroy it after you use the grab, only a few heroes will be able to destroy it fast enough for you to get the fullest value out of grab. Soldier 76, Hanzo, maybe McCree. Heroes like Doomfist and heroes like Mei won't be able to destroy it fast enough. Or the second nerf idea that I had, which I like a lot better because it solves the issue of the fact that Immortality Field is so powerful because it's an ability, is to switch his ultimate and the Immortality Field places. What I'm talking about is make the Immortality Field the ultimate and make his Matrix the ability. And this kind of sounds familiar because this was the same exact rework that Mercy received a long time ago. They switched her res ability from the ultimate spot to the ability spot because it was so powerful. In this case, it's the opposite because the Matrix is so underwhelming for an ultimate ability where the ability itself is so overwhelming. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. Now get rid of Immortality Field and not necessarily even bring down the health with the second option. With the first option, obviously, but there would be no switcheroos. Here, if you were just to switch it, well, the ultimate would be so valuable, but it's an ultimate. You still have to wait for the charge or just be skilled enough as a Baptiste player to be able to earn it. I just hate the fact that no matter what kind of ultimate you have, an ult combination or even just a single ult is going to be negated based on an ability that's always going to be up. A good Baptiste player is not going to waste the Immortality Field because they recognize, okay, here comes Genji Blade, okay, here comes Grab, here comes Bastion's ult. And by the time you want to destroy the Immortality Field with your ultimate, like if you're using any of those ults, you already wasted 1/3 of your ultimate trying to destroy this thing that wasn't there a couple of months ago. So that's my biggest issue with Immortality Field. It's always available, it's so hard to destroy, and it's always available, man. Why is it an ability? But this next hero is going to be a hero that's been running away from the nerf hammer for far too long. Because have you honestly ever heard of a Zarya nerf? I haven't. I've only heard of Zarya buffs. Well, not anymore because she is a staple in every single team composition. You work around the Zarya with the bubbles, with the ultimate, with the lack of protection that she gives because you don't have a shield. So now you need a shield tank. Okay, well, you also need a dive here to get a charge with her. Okay, well, you get the charge and you're able to be the DPS. She does way too much as a tank. I don't even know if she's an off tank or a main tank, and that is her biggest problem, is that she fills the shoes of so many of these tanks, but only at specific times, so she needs heroes to fill the roles that she can't fill at specific times. So I have two nerf ideas that won't necessarily make Zarya bad, but will make her a little bit more fair, because what I'm trying to do is not to affect the god tier Zarya players that actually know how to play the hero, but to affect the trash tier Zarya players that are just abusing the easy and very effective hero kit of Zarya. And the first idea here is to reduce the active time of the bubble by 1 second or something around that time. If Zarya is supposed to be an off tank based on how much DPS she gives off, well, don't make her a main tank based on the bubbles that she has. But the fact that you just have this bubble around you for not only protection, but also the possibility of a Pharah splashing damage onto you because she's not, that's what I'm really trying to go for, is to have God tier Zaryas not be affected by it because they know when to pop the bubbles. They know that they're going to get 40 charge instantly in the first second. But trash tier Zarya players are just going to pop at any time, but obviously still get that 40 damage because it lasts so freaking long. And the fact that you get 2 bubbles pretty often makes it so that you have so much protection potential and DPS potential. And the second change is related to the DPS potential, and my second nerf idea is to have the charge deterioration go down a whole lot faster. I don't necessarily know the exact speed, but the way that I see it right now is that Zarya is a snowball hero. If you get her to 100 charge and you fight the second fight quick enough, well, she's gonna be back at that 100 charge because her power didn't disintegrate fast enough. Plus, she has 2 more bubbles, so that means more protection and even more DPS potential for her. So the longer the fights, the more powerful Zarya gets. And that's why I think Zarya needs nerf, and that's why I think some of these heroes also need a nerf, is because the God tier players won't necessarily be affected by some of these ideas. Hopefully, I'm begging, if these ideas do go through, which they probably won't, but it will affect the trash tier players that are just picking up these heroes and doing extremely well just because of how good the hero kit is. And that's why I really wanted to make this video, was just to shine light on not only the issue, but also to start a conversation. What heroes do you think need to be nerfed in the game? Now, if you think Mei needs a nerf, bruh, get out of here, son. Just get out of here. But anyway, guys, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch videos to come, and bye.